it, Gabe!
We're here in sunny Seattle, a city known for its rain, but the gaming gods are smiling on us today. It's home to some of the best computing minds in the world, Microsoft HQ and Valve Software. Valve are responsible for revolutionizing the way we buy and play games. Without Valve, we wouldn't have Half-Life 1 and 2, Counter-Strike Source, Team Fortress 2, and good game favorite Portal. So we've visited this beautiful city to say hi to Valve and meet its founder, Gabe Newell. Come on. Well, here we are at Valve in Seattle to meet Gabe Newell, and this is his office. Why am I sitting at his desk? Because he's not here. That's right, from Sydney to Seattle to meet Gabe Newell, and no Gabe Newell. But we have been promised some time with him at E3, and luckily all the other key Valve players are here, starting with John Cook, head of Steam development.
Here's the Valve itself. This is actually a gift from Gabe's brother after we shipped the first Half-Life.
It's not tapped into a man's head, I think. While John was at uni in Melbourne, he and some mates coded up a game called Team Fortress. Tell us how Team Fortress came about.
Team Fortress was a mod for the game Quake. One of the cool things about Quake was it had a feature set of mods. It was really easy for people to come in and sort of build their own game on top of this existing game. One of the things we were really interested in was okay, this game Quake, it has a sort of shooter, multiplayer, battle against each other, and we really wanted to add a team aspect to that.
Your team captured the flag.
So we did that, and we actually had our own company for about a year and a half. Turns out that whole running a business thing is pretty difficult for some 20-year-olds. So eventually we hooked up here with Valve, and we just really hit it off.
So what sort of feedback mechanisms do you have, and how do you take that on board?
We essentially have a Team Fortress 2 playtest internally. Every day we have a playtest just to get more feedback from people inside of Valve. We have game telemetry built in, so we've instrumented in the game how often people play various classes, what kind of weapons they use, at what distance do they typically kill, what kind of maps tend to end in stalemate. It's not the same game that we released. We're really learn lessons, go in, update the game, fix it, make it better for everyone, repeat.
What was it like working here around the time that Half-Life 2 was released and everyone was screaming at Steam trying to validate their game?
We had some hiccups in the first 48 hours, I believe it was. Obviously, it would have been better if the launch was smoother, but in hindsight, we definitely made the right bet.
Jason Holtman runs the business end of things at Steam. We love reviewing games on the show, And Yet It Moves. Would you say that Steam has, or Valve has a commitment to those types of games?
It really depends on how good the game is. There's a lot of folks out there that do copycat games or smaller. Those are going to rise and fall like they always have. But now with the possibility of having digital distribution, you can certainly try a game out a lot faster than you could before and learn from it. And then, if you've got a connected platform like Steam, where you're taking your game and using it like a service, you can grow that game over a long period of time. So another good example of that, of it being profitable, is Dylan Fitterer's AudioSurf. He continues to update it. If you log on to Steam every week, Dylan kind of talks to you inside of his game. He'll put a screen up in front and say, "This is what I did this week. This is the music that I found," and that's something you could never do before.
I've heard people posting news stories about a super console that the different companies are eventually working towards, and there's all the hype about PC gaming dying with the growth of console and the whole piracy issue. What are your thoughts on that?
That comes from North American press, looking at North American retail reports. And North American retail reports don't have Europe in them, and they don't have online pieces on them. They don't have microtransaction pieces in it. Steam has 20 million users right now, and you've got figures like, Gartner Group tells us there's 260 million online PC gamers in the world, and there's 255 million PCs shipped in 2007. That's a huge install base.
All right, Mr. Newell, you promised us an interview. We came to Seattle. I sat in your chair. Now I'm gonna find you. I've got my map. And if my years of Counter-Strike have taught me anything, you'll either be at bomb site A or bomb site B. Or room 501. I'm coming for you.
Gabe Newell, thanks for joining us on Good Game.
Hello. When you were at that stage, moving away from Windows, why the decision to go into games? Did you have any inspiration for that?
Well, one of the things that was going on, my early gaming experiences were like, using batch cards on an old Burroughs mainframe to play Star Trek, and when I was first doing it, I was like, woohoo, it's a game, it's like you'd have a random seed generator, and you'd go in and go over to the line printer and quickly riff through to see what the Klingons had done next. And so even if you can find enjoyment in that, then maybe you should be thinking about getting into gaming rather than into operating systems. But while I was working on Windows at Microsoft, one of the problems, and Microsoft's a very different company now than it was back then. At the time, it was assumed that Windows wasn't a good platform for gaming, and this sort of got my hackles up because I was pretty sure that you could do a good game on top of Windows. So I had gone out and started, I thought rather than just sort of asserting this, like, oh, well, you should be able to build good games, I wanted to go find a game that was out there that was super demanding and then get it running on top of Windows. Right at the point that I was sort of talking with people inside about this, the shareware version of Doom had come out. And there was this huge disconnect, I think, within Microsoft over the perceptions of what it was possible for the PC to do as an entertainment platform, not just games, but, movies at that time were, the very early stages of multimedia were coming online. And so I actually got a copy of Doom and put it onto this giant luggable compact and dragged it around the company to make people look at it. I think at the time games were actually banned from being on the Microsoft's internal network. So I'd go around and say, look at this. The best game in the world right now is not running on, some Japanese console system or on some, SGI development system. It's running on a PC right now. And, I'd run up to that little platform where the armor was, and I'd spin around, and everybody would go, oh my God, I can't believe it. And so that was the game that I thought would do a great job of convincing people that Windows could be a viable platform if we could only get it running on top of Windows. And that's when I contacted John Carmack and Jay Wilbur at id and said, hey, here's the deal. I got an engineer who works for me. He'll port it to Windows. We'll give you the code back. And you can, as long as you distribute it, we'll do the work necessary to get it running on Windows. And that was sort of how I started to get to know the guys at id. Then there's an unbelievably smart guy by the name of Michael Abrash, who was working at Microsoft at the time, and he left Microsoft to go work on Quake. And after he'd been working on it for a while, he called, he knew that I was sort of thinking about gaming a lot at that point, and he said to myself and to Mike Harrington that we should think about leaving Microsoft and starting up our own games company, because id was going to come out with this revolutionary technology for the Quake engine, and that the original Quake, in his terms, was going to be the worst game ever built on top of the Quake engine because there were so many opportunities for people to go. And so Mike and I flew out there and talked it over, and John handed us the source code to the Quake engine and said, go for it, let's see what you guys can do. And that was the beginning of Half-Life.
You had a very successful career at Microsoft. Was it scary breaking away from that and making the switch to video gaming?
It was, because, it's sort of absurd. Mike's background and my background were very much in operating systems and productivity software. And the idea that people who've been building spreadsheets for a living are going to go off and do an entertainment product is kind of ludicrous. We both thought that there was a pretty good chance that we were going to go take a stab at this for a year, fail miserably, and then tuck our tails between our legs and go back to working at Microsoft.